I find that a lot of women who struggle with low self-esteem,
Right.
they're not even aware of it, but oftentimes they're around people who are making them feel really bad about themselves.
Hi guys, welcome to my channel. So I'm going to introduce you to the lovely Gloria. So Gloria, if you just give us a quick introduction of yourself.
Yes, thank you so much, Nina, for having me here today. So I'm a self-love coach and a therapist, and I simplify the self-love process for women who are really overwhelmed with low self-esteem and people-pleasing, and I help them pave the way to self-love.
Lovely. That's amazing. So how did you even get into that, if I may ask?
Yes, I get asked this all the time. So my background is actually in clinical psychotherapy. So I've actually been a therapist for over 6 years now. I started off working with children and then with women. And I think with the way that I worked, I realized how much our childhoods really affect us as adults. And I saw that in the kids that I worked with and the adults I worked with. And I think what really bothered me was that when we think about self-care and self-love, oftentimes we think a lot about Band-Aid solutions, right? Like, just go meditate for 20 days or just go get a massage. And for women who struggle with low self-esteem, you're not really addressing the root issues. And so you feel better for a couple of days and then you're right back into the self-loathing. So I got into self-love coaching with a clinical background, really to help women with the long game and to actually nip things in the bud and not spin the fluff and the filler.
Right, that's absolutely amazing. So I'm just going to dive straight into the first question I have for you, which is from a perspective of a self-love coach, what is the importance of self-love and self-worth for women to you?
Yes. As you can tell, I'm obsessed with self-love. I love answering these questions. Self-worth is everything. Right? Self-worth, at the root of it, is what you believe about your worthiness as a human being.
Right.
And I've never seen it not show up in every single part of your life. Because what you believe about your abilities and your self-worth, that dictates what kind of relationships you're going to choose. It dictates if you're going to go for the job that you truly want but not feel good enough for. It dictates who you surround yourself with. It dictates how you allow people to treat you. It shows up everywhere. So self-worth is everything.
It's everything. Yeah, I completely agree. And I think it's not spoken enough of as well. So I'm super excited that we're having this conversation. So my next question, I guess, is, was there like a pivotal moment in your life where you were like, I have to change the way that I'm doing things, where my eating habits, sleeping, etc.? Like, was there a moment for you where you were like, enough is enough, let's switch this up for the better?
So not surprisingly, the reason I even became interested in mental health was I had a very unstable childhood growing up. I don't come from a lot of money, so probably like every year or every half year we would just move, my parents and I. They were first generation immigrants here, so it was tough for them to hold down a job. And what happened was I never had the opportunity to keep friends, right, or to make friends, because we were just constantly moving that. Yes, and of course, I'm thankful for everything that my parents did for me, but I had very low self-esteem as a result. And I ended up getting into, so I dated very, very early to try to make that connection. And I thought the answer was going to be finding exactly from someone else. And I had just been in a string of very awful relationships since I was like between the age of 15 to maybe like 23. I'm a bit older than I look. And then at one point I was stuck in, I don't know if you know this word, Nina, called a situationship, where it's not a relationship, right?
And know about the situation.
Yes,
yeah.
We know all about it, right? And
yeah,
I had been dating this guy for a year.
Wow.
And after 1 year, he still would not commit to me after everything I had done. And I was blaming him. I said, you know, what's wrong with him? I was thinking to myself, oh, men are the worst. And I think when I had to change was I had to look at myself and realize, you know what? I can't just keep blaming everyone else around me.
Right.
I was the one who chose to stay. I chose this person to date.
Yeah.
I allowed him to treat me this way. What the heck was up with that? Right? It was my low self-worth, and the reality was, at that stage, I didn't believe I was good enough to have someone who would commit to me. So I just kept wasting my time and peddling my way through these half relationships. And then I got into therapy. I've seen my own therapist for years now, and I think through self-healing and actually focusing on my self-growth, then I was able to change those habits. I've got a really great partner now, but it took a long time to get there.
I think that's absolutely amazing that you were able to take a step back and acknowledge that you were the person causing this repetitive pattern of being in situationships rather than, a healthy, beneficial both ways relationship. And I think that's absolutely amazing. So I guess my next question kind of would be, what advice can you give women who are in that similar situation, who have a negative perception of themselves and don't feel worthy of, being in a healthy relationship or eating right and doing those sort of things that benefit them in the long run?
Yes, great question. And I answered this a little bit in the other question you asked me, and that was slowly taking responsibility for your life. And I have to be very clear when I say this, because a lot of women with low self-esteem have experienced a lot of trauma in their past, right? And so taking responsibility, it doesn't mean that the things that happened to you were okay. That's not what it means. It means that what happened to you maybe wasn't your fault, but it is now your responsibility to pick yourself back up, because no one else can do it for you. You have to. Yes. Yes. And that's actually a great thing. It means that you can start to become more in charge of your life instead of letting situations or other people dictate you. Because you know what? At the end of the day, we can't control what other people do. We can't control what other people say. But we can choose who we allow into our circle. And we can start to make choices for ourselves that will better our lives. And that's all responsibility means.
What can help women stop people pleasing? Because I know that you are the queen of of helping people to put their foot down and make sure that they're not always trying to appease other people. So what can women do that will kind of, I guess, eradicate that need to always people please?
Yes, the big P. People pleasing. People pleasing is probably the number one question I get. And I have two little tips for anyone who's watching. And actually, these are things I go over I have a free 5-day self-love challenge that anyone can sign up for. And the first thing is actually to flip the language. So if we're focusing on not people pleasing, then all we're thinking about is the words people pleasing. Right. So what I actually do is I switch it to a more positive language. So the opposite of people pleasing is putting yourself first and making decisions for yourself.
Oh, I love that. Okay, tell me more.
You can see the difference, right? If you're focused on people pleasing, you're still focused on other people, which is the whole point, right? So instead, you're going to start making decisions from your own intuition. And I recommend for women who are just starting off to actually write down 2 or 3 things that 2 or 3 decisions they are making that day that is coming from their own desires and their own wants. And it can be very simple. For example, letting a call go to voicemail instead of picking it up right away.
Ooh.
It could be canceling a plan because you realize there's too much on your plate. It could be choosing to stay in and watch a movie instead of doing another thing, right? So 2 to 3 little things to start doing for yourself every single day. And what you'll notice is you will stop people pleasing over time because you will just start to get used to the way of thinking of making decisions based on how you feel rather than how other people feel. So that's just that's one little tip.
Step 2 is something I like to call an inner circle audit. And so I find that a lot of women who struggle with low self-esteem, they're not even aware of it, but oftentimes they're around people who are making them feel really bad about themselves.
Oh,
right.
I love talking about inner circles. I think to have like a support group is just the most important thing. Like the people that you keep around you, like, you know, like what's that saying? Like you are like 3 of the 5 people that you keep. It's like you have to look at your circle all the time. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but that is an amazing point. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly it, Nina. You nailed it, right? Yes, I think the quote was like, you're the average of your closest 4 or 5 people. And it's so true, right? And the way that I explain that to women, it's not that you're not strong enough to fend people off, but it's that as human beings, we can't help but be influenced by our environments. That's what it means. That's what it's like to be a person, right? You're influenced by people around you. And if you're around people who are bringing you down, who are criticizing you, especially people who don't respect your boundaries, if you're around those types of people, then you can't, of course you can't assert your boundaries because they're not listening to you. Right? It takes 2 to have a true conversation. You can't talk to a wall and expect someone to, you know, listen to you when they're not having it.
And to give a decent response either, because if they're not invested in the conversation, you're just going to get back 100 times, and it's just going to be like, okay, now I need to, you know, give and take.
Exactly. Something's got to give. You know, I ask women all the time, why are you knocking on a wall hoping for it to turn into a door? Right? Because, you know, if someone is not respecting your boundaries, then your entire relationship is based on the fact that they can step all over you. Right?
That's so true.
Yeah, you have to take a look at the 4 to 5 people closest to you and ask yourself, how do you actually feel around this person? Right? Are they actually making you feel good about yourself? Or do you have some some deeper belief about what it means to be a good friend? Or perhaps you feel like you have to always, you know, let your in-laws walk all over you. Right? What's happening to keep you stuck in those relationships?
That's so true. That's so true. Yeah, because a lot of time people will be in, you know, a friendship or relationship with someone kind of with the intent to fulfill a need or a want that they haven't even acknowledged within themselves yet. So you're constantly searching for something in each person. And you know, I think when people are so open all the time, they're susceptible to just being, I don't want to say verbally abused or taken advantage of, but maybe like borderline emotionally abused, I guess you could say. It's like if you've got the wrong people in your life, they'll use you to their advantage, but there'll be nothing reciprocated. And a lot of people who lack self-esteem and they lack self-worth, they don't acknowledge it, and they don't even know how, you know, and they don't see the warning signs when they're there. And I think it's so important to kind of, what you just said was gold. Like it's so important to just acknowledge that when someone is taking advantage of you, put your foot down and just say, enough is enough. I'm going to have to walk away from this. But I guess this is a question I haven't written down, but I'm just going to throw it out there anyway. How would you advise someone to sort of walk away from an unhealthy relationship? Like what would the conversation sound like to, I guess, break up
Yes.
with a friend? Like,
Right.
how would you advise someone do that?
Right. And I love everything you just said, Nina, because yes, it's absolutely true, right?
Yeah.
And so the question you asked, this is one of the toughest ones, because what I find probably there's two feelings that tend to come up when you think about breaking up those friendships.
Yeah.
Then the first one is usually guilt, right? Feeling guilty about standing up to someone, or feeling guilty about not being a good daughter or a friend. And so that's the first feeling. And the second one is this feeling that something is better than nothing, right? And that you would rather stay in an emotionally abusive friendship than not have that friend.
Yeah.
And that comes from a place of abandonment, right? Sort of that abandonment feeling.
Yeah.
So in this case, I would really ask ladies to check in with themselves and get your priorities, or sorry, get your values straight, right? Get your values and your priorities.
Yeah.
What is it that you truly value more? Do you actually value having lots of people around you, but they're not actually emotionally connected to you and giving you what you need? Or is it more important to you to have one or two close friends that you can actually depend on, right?
That's so cool. Yeah.
Right? Like you really have to ask yourself this, because you can't have your cake and eat it too, right? You can't.
Right? You can't
can't
have a
be
million
yourself.
one friends and then expect to get the same result from having two intimate people who just get you. Yeah. Right. No, I completely agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you have to decide for yourself at one point what's more important to you. And if you look at yourself 10 years into the future, what do you want to feel about your life looking back? Right? Do you want to feel like you said what you had to say, you lived speaking your truth? Or, right, do you want to look back thinking, I lived small to hold on to these people that aren't even serving me at my highest good? Right? What is it that you want to look back and reflect on?
Yeah, and I guess you've actually answered one of the questions I was going to ask you anyway, which is kind of like, how do people create those boundaries? I guess we've already had a conversation similar to this, but you kind of hit it on the head, which was know your values. Know exactly what you will and won't take from someone. And I think a lot of women, they don't know what they stand for and who they are. And I think it all starts from knowing what you will and won't take from someone. And that's when the boundaries are created, right? I'll take this, but I won't take this. And then when that one that you won't take is crossed, that's when you're kind of like, okay, but whether it's hard or gently, it has to come down at this point. And you're like, you know what? This is a no for me. And I guess people struggle with saying the no, but I guess that will come with time once you've figured out what you do and don't want, in life, and what you will and won't take from somebody. But a lot of people who have confidence say that to have the confidence, you have to know yourself. So I guess my next question for you would be, what would you suggest women do to get comfortable with their skin, visually and mentally? Like, what would you do for them? What would you say? Like, something blurring. How would you advise them to become one?
Okay. Yeah, I would love to answer that. So I have a little different take on this. So, and I don't know if everyone will agree with me, but this is sort of how I think.
Yeah,
to be honest, I think confidence is a little bit overrated. Okay. Because it's not consistent across your whole life. So what I mean by that is, confidence just means that you feel comfortable doing something because you've done it so many times, right? So for example, you might feel really confident in your cooking. You might feel confident that you know all the aisles of a grocery store. You can go in, go out, and you're just good at that, right? You can feel confident at finding the best deals at Winners. But just because you're confident at that doesn't mean you're confident about standing up for yourself when someone is criticizing you. It doesn't mean you're confident about going on a first date with someone you've just met.
Gloria, you're stirring the pot here, go.
And I mean, you can kind of fake your confidence. I mean, I know I do work with a lot of entrepreneur women as well.
Yeah.
And they can go on camera and like, you know, do like a 10-minute YouTube video and they sound so confident.
Yeah.
But then in other areas of their life, they're falling apart, right? So I think, in my opinion, your self-esteem, which is what you believe about your worth, I think that's more important than trying to like look confident or to, right? So, I mean, when you think of confidence, I mean, usually what I think of is how other people see you, right? Like you say, oh, she looks confident, or he seems confident doing that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter because you don't know how they actually feel. I mean, I'm a very awkward person, right? I'm not like yeah, like I'm always like showing up at parties like, so how's the economy doing today?
Weather's nice outside.
Yeah. And I kind of accepted that I'm just kind of an awkward person, but it doesn't mean I have low self-esteem. I don't have low self-esteem anymore. And I don't care that I come off that way anymore. And to me, that matters more to me than showing up and, right, like looking like I've got all my shit together that day. So, and I would say, you know, when you focus on putting yourself first and you start focusing on building your self-worth, then like you will become more confident at that over time.
Yeah.
So that's my long-winded answer to your question.
No, I absolutely love that. And you know what? I read an article, I think it was yesterday, the day before, and they were basically saying, kind of like what you're saying, like confidence is a hoax. It's not a consistent thing throughout life. You know, like you said, you can be confident doing cooking because you know that you can do it, right? So they were saying basically confidence is knowledge that you can do something and do it well. So kind of like a job. I have confidence that I can do my job well, whereas I might not have the confidence to drive a car.
Right, exactly.
No, so yeah, no, I completely agree with what you're saying. And so I'm going to just jump right into my last question, which is, you know, how important is it for women to find a community, whether they have confidence, lack confidence, have self-worth or not? How important is it for women to find a community of people who just get it and are also not just friends, but on the same journey with them, whether it can be completely separate from their friends and they can end up making friends in that community, but how important from the perspective of a psychologist is it to have people around you who just understand the exact same road that you're traveling on?
Yes, and it's funny you mentioned that because you and I met because we're in the same community.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes, it's so important because, as we said earlier, one of the things about becoming more of yourself is that not everyone is going to like it, and you're going to see that your circle is going to change because some people only stuck around because you had no boundaries, right?
Yeah.
And so now you've got right.
That was
it is a thing.
Gold right there.
Yeah, this is one of the toughest part is you have to go through that temporary pain of realizing that some of your friends or family members maybe weren't as great as you thought they were and they don't like the real you. And so you've got to find other people who are going to like the real you, right? And who understand this journey of trying to build your self-confidence. You know, it's funny you mentioned that, Nina. A lot, when I was on my journey, a lot of people didn't really get why I was so into this. And back then I was exploring different things like meditation. I was exploring, you know, self-help books. And there were some friends that thought it was weird, right? They didn't understand why I wanted to change. And so how is that going to support you, right? If you're not around people who understand what you're going through and who will help you and support you and validate you on your journey. And I think even with your community, the She Army, you're building a community around that, right? For women to help each other. And I think it's so important.
Yeah.
We all need to feel like we belong.
Exactly. Everyone needs someone to just be able to be like, today was a bad day. And then you don't have to explain why in depth. They just get it. You know, it doesn't have to be a literal bad day at work or whatever. You just get home and today was just a bad mental health day. That person just understand. And I think it's so crucial to just have, whether it's 2 women, 1 woman, just somebody who gets it.
Right.
And I guess that's what I'm trying to create and build at the moment, is just people who just get it. You know what I mean? Like, we need more people who just get it, and people who won't judge. Like, there's so much judgment in the world, and we just need a community of people where it's just like a judgment-free zone where you could just be you and learn who you are in the process of being you at that stage, you know, accepting you as you are now and acknowledging that you might want to make a few changes, but doesn't mean you have to change who you are to your core.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, it's just that's the goal, that's the aim. But yeah, do you have anything else to add to that point before I jump into my last kind of?
Oh yeah, I love everything you said, and you're so right. Yeah, judgment-free zone, and to not feel afraid for speaking your truth and to share things that interest you, right? And to not feel ashamed of it. I 100% vibe with you.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm with you, girl.
Amazing, thank you. So I guess my last question is, what do you, Gloria, hope to rediscover about yourself as you go through life?
Ooh, that's a good question. You know what? I know we're in the middle of the pandemic right now, and here in Toronto, we're actually going back into phase 2. Phase 1, like, because the numbers have gone up. So I don't want to talk too much about the pandemic. I know it's been very stressful for everyone.
Yeah.
But one thing I did that really solidified for myself during the pandemic is I really am an introvert. I really am. And yeah, are you okay?
I feel you on that one.
Yeah. And you know, I really, it made me feel a lot of empathy for folks who maybe are not introverts, and they feel so isolated during this time of not having that in-person connection. But at the same time, I also got to sort of rediscover more of what it means to be an introvert. I mean, I can go weeks without seeing anyone in person, and it doesn't affect me as much as someone else. So I've been rediscovering alone time and just spending quality time with myself. I do music as well, so like singing and music, and it's been nice not having like all of like the regular life routines like pulling me in different directions, where I'm just mostly home and just spending time with me.
You're just doing like the definition of do you, boo. Like, you're just doing you, right?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I can't complain. I mean, a lot of people had a very difficult lockdown, and then us introverts were just kind of there, just spinning out. But yeah, Gloria, amazing. Thank you so much.
Yay!
Like I said before, you are my first interview for my channel, so I'm just like super grateful because you've been absolutely amazing, and you kind of held my hand through the process. Great.
We had lots of run-ins with Puck the tech fairy today.
Puck the tech fairy, that damn that bitch.
Right.
Anyway, where can my audience find you?
So recently I've been really getting into Instagram, so you can find me at The Self-Love Coach. I don't know how I got that handle, but it was available, so I took it. So you can find me at The Self-Love Coach. I post a lot of inspirational, motivational quotes. I do tips and tricks every week for folks who just need that dose of inspiration to kick their self-love into gear. And I also have a free challenge. It's called 5 Days to Skyrocket Your Self-Love. And every day you get a video sent to your inbox with a free workbook. And it's completely free and it's available to everyone. So go on to my Instagram, there's a link there, or you can go to selflovewithgloria.com and sign up there.
Amazing. Guys, please check her out because she is a doll, a dream, amazing, incredibly smart, gorgeous, and just downright helpful. So check out her Instagram.
Thank
And
you.
yes, thank you for watching this video.